Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our activity briefing. And first of all, we've got information systems with Gordon, and welcome Helen up to the top table. Thank you. Gordon, anything that you would like to add to your report?
Just one thing.
I'll just get you to turn your light on. There you go.
Just one thing on the aerial imagery capture. The rules have now been updated on the public sites, and urban is in the process of being updated. So it's been a rather long time to get these due to various reasons of resource and technical on our partner agencies, but we are getting there.
Thank you. Any questions for Gordon? Councillor Lovett.
I'm just going to ask, how close, this aerial imagery, how close to the properties does it get? Can you see actual, like in people's yards and stuff, or is it further out? Just thinking who accesses this, and in the future, for, where I'm heading to for crimes and stuff, that gets in the wrong hands.
Through the chair, it's not to a level of being able to identify a person should they be captured in shot. Yes, you can see detail of a car, but you can't see number plates or anything personally identifiable in these shots. The data set is public, so it is created under what they call a Creative Commons agreement, which is it can be used for other purposes, but it has to always reference the provider of that service, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Mayor Brown.
There's 1.1.1 projects, Gordon, on a GIS and Ocean Farm Sprinkler Maintenance Survey. What does that mean or do? What do you do for that?
The tool that we have done is to support their maintenance activities down at Ocean Farm, or there's another one there around the caravan dump station. So it's around the management of the life of the assets down there. So in this case, it would be the sprinklers. They go around and they have a contract for inspection, and from that they could flag any maintenance that's required. But it's a recorded audit of that inspection.
So big GIS, where does that get involved in there?
So they are able to view that data through mapping. They can go to a point and see the history of inspections that have been made on that particular sprinkler, for example. It's the same that we're doing for the water treatment plants and the like.
So the same would be for water leaks around. They get mapped, and is that what shades the reds and the oranges and greens?
Not, to my knowledge, no. Not for leaks. Not at this stage, anyway.
And just one other question, same one. Where it's on track within budget or carryover, it's got NA. What does NA mean?
In those cases, it's all done out of the operational budgets, so there isn't really an allocated budget, so it's not applicable in that respect.
Thank you.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Hello, Gordon. The community facility booking system and the online event application process one, how are they both tracking? Because I see both of them as a real enhancement on what we have now and a benefit to the community. So just wondering how they're tracking.
Yeah, through the chair for the community facilities booking system. So we're at the stage of just concluding contract agreements with a preferred provider, and hope to have that signed off this week. After that, there will be a full sort of program of work set out. We'll get cracking into that. The online event application process, so that is tracking as well. That's an internal built solution. So there's development work and builds underway for that.
Thank you. Thanks, Gordon. That looks like all the questions for you. Next up, we have Renee. on property, and the report starts on page 10. Hi, Renee. Any questions? Councillor Cameron.
Renee, thank you. That's great to see the Friendship Lane going ahead so well. When I see boxes there, is that people unpacking or is that putting ovens and stuff in there? Boxes in one of the images on page 12.
Through the chair, yes, that'll be the
Other stuff.
ovens and things like that. Yep.
When you look at the no lawn or no ceiling, are we doing ready lawn or are we doing growing seed? Are we planting the lawn out or the lawn spaces, or are we?
There is a landscape plan that goes with that.
But not
Yes.
ready lawn, putting the seed in. Yes.
Councillor Lovett.
Just going to ask about the progress to date, on the Domain Oval. It's taken, nearly 8 years, and we're still grappling with it. And, I just think they're holding us to ransom, or and who's in the meantime, who's paying the power, and you see people using that building. And to me, it's time we either put an ultimatum on it. I'd like to see it finished in this term of council. Otherwise, it's just going to drag on for another 8 years or more.
Through the chair, yes, I understand, and we are working really closely with them. We've been in contact with them as recently as last week to try and move this along. We would also like to see that resolved this year.
So we cannot put a final date that either this is going to happen with the building. We need to put a timeline. Can we do that and get them to progress?
We will do our absolute best. Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Two questions, if I may, please. The review of council's forestry holdings continuing. Do you have an estimated time of finish, completion?
Not yet. Not at this stage, but hoping to have something in the near future.
Okay. And the camper van that was parked overnight beside the public toilets Upper Hakateri, did they get a visit from somebody from council?
I'll need to follow that up and I'll come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
Just there was some confusion, Renee, around the answer. Are you planting seed for lawn or are you doing ready lawn?
Just double check that. I'll come back to you. Yep.
Councillor Wilson.
The airport, it says here you're currently investigating alternative management options. When do we expect a result from that to happen?
We're currently working with our policy team for that as well. So, yep, we've got a few of the larger items in play at the moment. So I'm hoping to have something for you soon.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. With the Friendship Lane rebuild, do you have a completion date for that yet?
Mid-year.
Mid-year?
Mm-hmm.
Sometime June, July, is it?
It's close. They're just working on the paths at the moment, so and finishing has started in some of the units.
And I guess there'll be an official opening ceremony or something similar. Yeah, big project. Councillor Lovett.
Just going back to the airport, with the changes in how we monitor planes coming in and out, you've given us the data of this year. So, what you can't obviously give us probably 2 years data, but are there flights in the airport in and out, are they increasing or stabilising, or are we falling off with our new charges and things?
Through the chair, we're probably about 1,000 movements up. So,
That's good.
yeah, it is good.
And the other question I had, the airport, the hangar leases, you had all those multi ones. Have you got to the bottom of individual owners on those?
We're still working through some of those at the moment.
I was talking to somebody the other day that had owned 2 of those, and I might better get you some info.
Would appreciate that. Thank you.
Councillor Mackel.
Thank you. On the leases, the take up, well, you know, the legal entities on that, has that process been favourable for those leasees?
Could you just explain that a wee bit
Has
further?
has agreement with council officers that are currently going through the rent reviews for the ground leases and entering to new ground leases for the legal entities, have you been working with them, and what feedback, etc., have you had from them? Has it been favourable?
Yes, we've been working well with them, and it has been favourable.
Yep. And just another question, if I may. 33 people have registered for an annual land use fee. How does that measure up with your expectations at this stage?
It's fairly consistent with previous year.
Thank you.
Last question, Councillor Wilson.
The Friendship Lane build, how is it tracking against budget? Because obviously we're getting near the end, so variations, how is it tracking against that?
It's tracking really well, so we're on target both for timeframe and for meeting budgets.
That's good.
Good to hear, thank you. Thanks, Renee. Next we have finance, page 18, and Erin's coming up with that. Do you have anything to add, Erin?
Just a couple of things. So the annual report for 23-24, we've received the final audit management letter that we will bring to audit and risk next time. And also for the vehicles, we had 3 we were preparing. One sold at Turners already, and there's 2 going to auction later this week of those 3.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis, question. I was going to say.
Thank you. I see your replacement vehicles are now hybrid. Is that a policy going forward that that's going to be right across the fleet, or is it just certain vehicles?
So I think it'll be certain vehicles that are in the pool vehicle space. So a lot of need to be a bit more research before any of the vehicles, for example, open spaces, could be hybrid.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
It's to do with in the IT space. When we do, we upgrade software, and because that's happening all the time, and I see some of that stuff's being done. Do we amortise that over a period of time, or do we expense that in the year of its incurrence?
Helen.
All investment into IT software now goes through as operational cost. So that was a change that was made a couple of years ago in the financial regulations.
Okay. Mayor Brown.
With the vehicles prepared for auction, the one sold and 2 yet to be sold, how are they, in previous vehicles, how are they tracking to budget, what you expect to get for them?
They seem to be tracking ahead of budget at the moment. Generally what happens is we'll get an idea for our budget, but at the same time we look at the market depending on what that's looking like to whether we accept what the reserve will be on a vehicle that's auctioned. And our policy is that they are all auctioned via Turners. So we get what they're saying they're thinking the reserve would be, and then we have a staff member do some research in the market as well, just to make sure that we're not setting it up to be too low to start with, get the best return we can.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Mine's along the same lines as Russell. I wanted to know the cost of the hybrid vehicles compared to the ones that we currently or previously had for pool vehicles. Do you have those details?
I haven't got the exact numbers, but I can put that through at some point to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Recently, having had the pleasure with Councillor Brahm and travelling to Christchurch to an ECAN meeting we had to attend in a Toyota Yaris. They are a very nice car, but they are vertically challenging for the taller man. Councillor Brahm had the seat fully back, and he could barely fit in the car. So I think we're at the ratepayers can be confident we're at the minimum size we can go.
I tell you what, they work for me, but I'm a shorter woman, so you know. But you're right, they are quite a small vehicle. Any further questions for Erin? No. So we've got a couple of things that Erin's coming back with, the hybrid vehicles, and Renee's coming back with a couple of other things about the grass, lawn, vertic lawn, etc. Thank you. Thanks, Helen. So next up, we have infrastructure and open spaces. So we've got Ian Soper here with his report on page 19, and welcome Neil up. Hi Ian.
Welcome, Madam
Nice.
Chair, councillors.
Nice, good lengthy report there, lots of information. So we'll go through. I just wanted to ask a question. You've got the cemeteries and you've got the interments. The 0246 on the side of the graph, is that 200? 2000? What would the 2 be?
Literally the number 2.
Only 2?
2 interments or ashes.
And that's for a whole 6 months?
No, that's for the month.
Oh, so up the top it says August 24 to January 25. This is on page 19.
Yes, through the chair, the numbers are individually per month. So, you know, for August in the first column there was 4 for that month. The second month there was 2, and so on.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Councillor Hooper, you've got a question.
Yeah, a couple if I may, please. First, a shout out to your team, Ian. A couple of people have commented to me recently about how good the cemetery is looking, and you did some work from an email that I sent through as well, so well done and thank you. A natural burial, you're talking about that, you're developing some procedures and requirements around. Can you explain a natural burial? They still go in a coffin of some sort, right?
Through the chair, that is correct. However, we in the new cemetery we did allow some land for natural burial. We haven't got any interred there as yet, and there is a pre-qualification for not only the council but also for the local undertakers to enable them to be able to deliver that level of service. So it's quite different from what we know as traditional burial. So there would be a casket or a shroud around the interred, and it would generally it's a far shallower grave, so it's not like the standard grave 6'6" double depth or slightly less for single depth. It's ideally in the area of the soil where there is a little more microbe activity, to be blunt, a few more worms and grubs and so on to aid with the decomposition process. It comes down to the soil type, what the backfill is, so we need to get that assessed, the soil type assessed as to do we add organic matter to that process as part of the backfill or not. And generally it's sitting at around about a metre-ish less or more in depth in terms of coverage over the interred. So there's a bit of a process around it. It's a learning curve in terms of for staff for one, and secondly for our undertakers locally as well. So we've started down that path so that when we all get the suitable level of information, we can then go on to deliver at that level.
Oh, cool. Okay. The domain Flying Fox it's had another brake mechanism and cable replaced, which is heavy use, but if it's good. But is that warranty? Does that kick in there, or are we just? Is it just
through the chair? It's wear and tear. This is surely a result of the use, which is why we build these things, is for them to be used. So it's good to see the use. However, some of the stretching in the cable, we do surmise that some of the weights and measures, which we do have no control over, can be getting loaded up with a number of punters going down in the wee small hours that add to the problem.
Good way of putting that. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I look at public convenience, there's a whole lot of vandalism going on and toilet paper being stolen and all sorts of, and a sign looks like someone's bit the sign. It looks like a bite mark out of it on the top right. Is that a metal sign?
Through the chair, yes it is. Aluminium sandwiches on either side with the polycarbonate in the middle.
Do you, unbelievable. unbelievable. Do you keep an account? Do you have a column in your financials to say how much this district spends on vandalism, like toilets, newspaper, toilet paper? We'll count that as vandalism.
Through the chair, we do have a separate number that we do align that to in the different cost centres. But
It'd be good. I
so
would like to see that so people, so the community can see how much money has been, to repair acts of vandalism. How much we're spending.
Yes, through the chair, I did read this morning in the newspaper similar issues at Capity.
Yeah, I saw that.
And when you looked at the photo there are similarities distinctly to the Rakaia facility. And the new facilities that we're building now have most of that pipework contained within the superstructure or in a service duct out the back. So where you've got exposed pipes, plastic seats, plastic pans, ceramic pans as opposed to stainless steel pans, all of that becomes rife for vandalism.
Personally, I cannot relate to that. I don't understand it. But when you read this, it's dreadful. And when you looked at that picture in the newspaper of whatever it was, Capity Coast, you got to wonder, don't you? But can we get that report? Like, can you tell us how much has been spent?
I've taken a note, so I'll see what I can pull out
thanks.
for the next briefing, if you like.
There is a line in the budget for vandalism, but I don't know if that's for open spaces or I can't remember. Was it? Yeah.
Yes,
there's
through the
some
chair, and it
amount.
covers multiple cost centres as well. So we've got some in parks, some in cemeteries, and some in public conveniences.
Yep. Councillor Ellis. Oh, someone. No, Councillor Ellis.
Hamish, would you like some?
Is your light on, Hamish? Oh, sorry, it's not coming up. Oh, yes, it is. Now it is. Hamish.
Thank you. We'll certainly provide that information to the best of our ability. One of the things that I notice, though, is it's an issue that's rife from Kaitaia to Bluff, and there is nothing unique or special about the vandalism faced by our community here. So that's not to say we shouldn't highlight it or call it out and try and improve it, but it is a problem across the whole country rather than just being a particular issue here. In fact, some of the things you read, it's a bigger problem in other parts of New Zealand than it is here.
Unusual to have toilet paper stolen, though. That seems to be a first. Councillor Ellis next. Thank you.
Unfortunately, similar vein, the Hickory River Trail, and it's fantastic to see there's a strong group still going, and they have had a high maintenance this year. But once again, I'll put it politely, some idiots out there just going to destroy it for everyone by using motorbikes on, and we keep getting requested, supply facilities for people to use, and then when we do, these idiots go out there and, as I say, wreck it, and I find that very disappointing.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
It's to do with the water race transition program we're embarking on.
What page are you on?
It's the Wakanui Creek on page 27.
Okay, thank you.
And it's to do with what is Open Spaces doing any work on, because obviously we go through this process, we talk to the people who want the water races, we talk to the Stormwater Department, and we talk to other people, and obviously when we come to the ones that run through Timor Domain, Ashburton Domain, we're going to want to talk, and to ensure that we have, as a council, we have a consistent message, and we've thought of it well through, instead of getting to the public consultation and we're disagreeing with each other in public. Have you thought of how the relationship with the stockwater going through the two domains, especially through the ponds, will be, what our response will be and what we, expectations are for those domain ponds? Because obviously the water comes in and goes out, but if there's no stockwater race in the future, is it still going to come in and go out? Or what other solutions are there? Have you thought through that yet, or is any work being done in that department?
Yeah, we certainly have discussed it. We haven't got into the detail yet, but it is something we will definitely do, as Open Spaces are an important stakeholder when we get to dealing with the stockwater around that area. So very much so, yep.
I would just ensure you take reference from the stockwater transition plan for those dates when it does come up, so that I'm not having to chase you up to get a response. I'd expect that response to be there earlier than that.
Thanks, Richard. Councillor Meckle.
Thank you. On the facilities and the vandalism, I just would wonder what the feel was around the table with user pays, doing a trial on a facility just to see how that would go. I mean, overseas, they do it, and it is effective, and it's been a constant since I've been here with the vandalism on those facilities. And yeah, would a trial now be prudent?
What kind of trial? Are you suggesting a $2 coin
yes.
to open the door?
Absolutely. Just a trial, just to see how that would go on probably a facility that's had the most and continual damage.
Ian, are you aware of any other places in New Zealand that would do something like that?
Through the chair, that there has been a number that have embarked down that path. I do know anecdotally from a new facility that went in near the Tiania foreshore that they had a charged facility which replaced a non-charged facility, and it ended up with mess in the close by bushes. So not all people will abide by putting a penny in the slot.
Yeah, the close by bushes would be probably inconvenient for the person doing the vandalising if it was in town in the Rakaia domain as such, or not the domain, the park up there.
The other consideration would be the just how you structure the mechanism to enable that to occur. So the door lock system, we would need to look and understand what that looked like. Could it be retrofitted to the existing facilities? I'm not aware of that coming as an option for the prefabrication units that we use of Exelu or Permaloo. So we would need to do some work in that space to work out and understand what could be done in that area.
I was sort of thinking that a trial wouldn't hurt at this stage, just to see how it would go.
So maybe first we could get the costings of how much it's costing us for the vandalism first, and then look and see how much we're spending per annum on that. And then could we talk about a trial? Is that, if it's possible?
I was thinking the cost of vandalism now is S load, and compared to sorting out a couple of locks on a door and to pay would be minimal compared to it.
Neil?
Yeah, look, we'll get the costs of the vandalism, and we'll look at what's involved with fitting a coin-operated mechanism, and we can bring it back to council and for council to consider if you want to proceed with that. Yep.
Councillor Lovett.
I just had a couple of questions, but on that vandalism one, I'm thinking in today's world nobody has coins, and all the tourists going through don't have New Zealand coins, and you've got all the children on the parks and they don't have coins, so that's not going to work. But I was going to ask about, is it time we re-looked at our putting cameras into these domains and beaming them at the toilets and things? I know Rakaia has asked that, and the Citizens Association have got cameras all around town, and they're picking up missing persons and kids that are lost and all sorts of things. It's doing as well as burglaries, and whether we re-look at that, because I mean other places have cameras in domains in public areas.
Okay.
Through the chair, anecdotally again, we've not had much success or result with getting and holding the offenders to account. Either the identification becomes a level of a challenge, and then progressing, often it is young people which slip through the system to a degree.
You got another question?
The other question I was going to ask you is events in the domain, and I'm just going to talk to you about the athletics in the Oval. I've been rung twice about the sprinklers going on the lawns. And is it a fault of the club not ringing, letting you know, on their club nights, or what? I don't know. And just wondering, is there a telephone number you can give them to ring to go and turn all the watering system off, so they can
through the chair, there was one glitch in our system. Phone call did come through to the council office, which is the right place to ring. The after hours then rings the respective staff members. One occasion about 3 weeks ago, they got hold of me on a Friday evening, which I then in turn got hold of one of the staff that has remote access, and got them turned off. So there was a glitch in the system that caused it to be on when it shouldn't have been. The booking was already there.
I guess they could ring council after our service as well, couldn't they?
That's correct. That's what they did. Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Brown.
Yeah, just answering Councillor Mackel's request of paid toilet services or paid to use. I think I read just recently Mackenzie District Council in Tekapo is looking at exactly that. So you may want to just follow up. It was some media thing I saw not long ago, within the last week, where they are planning on putting it pay to use in to try and get their rate increases down. So you may just like to follow up on that. And if that is actually happening, we wouldn't need to do a trial. We could just watch theirs.
Thank you. I've just got one question, because you've mentioned Taylor's Stream and Boyer's Stream planting, but I've noticed when I've driven past there over summer how busy it's been with camper vans. So do you keep a record of, or is there any way of knowing how many people were parking up there for a night? Taylor's Stream's had sort of up to 10 campers there at some stages.
You know, through the chair, we don't have any mechanism. There's no counter system there. Anecdotally, from the staff visiting and replenishing supplies and the public conveniences there, it's noticeable just the volume of people there. So that's why we provide those spaces, is for people to pull in at all hours of the day and evening and park up. We're getting good feedback and good usage. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That looks like all the questions. Next, we have solid waste management. We've got Hernando here and Chrissy. So we'll start on page 28 with solid waste management.
Sorry, through the chair, if I can just give you an update. The second bullet point refers to a report coming to council on the 2nd of April. It now will be the 16th of April, as the tender valuation panel still haven't finished their process.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions? I just have one question. So the old compactor has been moved into Methven at this stage?
Through the chair. It's just being moved on the side at the moment until it can be moved to Methven. We're still going to do the site investigation next year for Methven. And then we'll do the design after that if it's processed, and then...
Yeah, that's correct. So it'll be left here.
That's not correct, that bullet point.
Which one's that?
The old compactor was removed for relocation into Methven.
Yeah,
It will. That's the intention. That's correct, yes.
Right, thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I had a question around that too, but our first question was, our new compactor, does it compact more material down than the old one did into the same sort of, so that trucks are being better utilised when they go to Cape Valley?
Yeah, through the chair. The past weeks that we have been using the new compactor, it's been compacting well. We'll be able to present more valid data next report.
Thank you. And just similar question to the chair with the old compactor for relocation into Methven. We haven't decided yet, have we, where that location is, or if we're doing it, or any of those things, or is it in the back? I just can't remember.
Through the chair, yeah, we still don't know where it's going to be placed. We only got the 70,000 for investigation at this stage, which will be utilized next financial year.
Yes, so the investigation will look at likely locations for the resource recovery park first, and then we'll decide on the relocation of the compactor depending on the costs and the site that we select. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
The new compactor, should that result in heavier tonnages per truck going to Cape Valley? Is that the logic of it?
Through the chair, yes.
And so when will we see those results come through?
By the next meeting, I will be able to present more data about it.
And then the next question was, another question was on page number 31. It's to do with the recycling volumes out of the different locations. Because obviously it's bottles, and then I think it's the 3 lots of bottles, and then it's all the other rubbish in the bins. Is that stuff coming in from there having to be dumped because of contamination, or how is what sort of percentage do we get that's recyclable, or is it, how much is contaminated too much to go?
The contamination rate for the whole district, including the drop-off sites, is below 5% at the moment, which is very, very good. So most of the materials that are taken away from the drop-off sites are sent to the recycling facilities. Very little of it is being contaminated at the moment.
And I see at the hindsight there's been a camera put up there. And what's the reasoning behind the camera put up at the recycling place?
I haven't had a talk with Justin about that, but I'll report on the next meeting.
Thank you. Can I just ask, so all the sites that you've got there on page 31, are they all the sites that we have in the district? Where does Lauriston fit in? Or is that because it's on a school?
Yes, so we have 14 drop-off sites and 21 schools.
Oh, I see.
So,
yeah, thank you. Mayor Brown.
I was looking at the tonnes of recyclable 465 and 267. How can you be assured that all those that we collect, although we collect the recyclables material, how can we be assured that it is actually recycled once it leaves our hands?
because, we send all our recyclables to an MRF in Timaru, and that's where everything is being recycled. It's a recycling facility. So, and our contamination rate is very low, so most of the time all our recyclables are being accepted.
So it goes to another facility and then it's out of our hands?
Correct.
What assurance do you have that it's recycled at that facility that you have no control over?
Need to visit it.
That ends up recycled?
We don't have any idea.
You don't? Can we have?
Yeah, we don't typically follow up and ensure, or further down the track, we don't really know where it goes. It's their responsibility. They get rid of it and they get, that's their responsibility. We could make some inquiries.
It leaves, we pay for it to be recycled, no doubt?
It's included in their price, in their tender.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's in their interest if they can recover as much, because in the contract they gain from any revenue from recyclables.
Yeah.
So it's the incentive.
We feel we're doing the right thing, but as it gets further down the line, it doesn't necessarily happen in some instances. I'd just like an assurance that our goodness is going all the way through to be fully recycled at the other
We'll
end.
see what we can find out.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
When they changed the recycling system, and I know in Methven, as part of the Methven Community Board, went for a trip down to that centre in Timaru, and it was all sorted out. They spent a lot of time sorting plastics, paper, tin, whatever, and then it was all packed up. We could see that all packed up, but where it went from there, who knows? Yeah.
I think the key is if there's value in it, certainly they will. It'll be a concern if there isn't much value, then one wonders where it ends up. But look, we can do some work on that. And yes.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'm looking at just page 29, request inquiry with regards to additional bins, and it seems to be a consistent number each month. Are they cumulative, or each month they're a recount? Well, how does that work?
Through the chair, those are actual requests for that month. They're quite consistent.
So if I had a bin at my house, an additional bin, do you count that each month, or is that just counted once? So there's a lot of people wanting additional bins.
Correct.
Who are these people? Like people like me? Or no, I don't want to know their names. Like, are they commercial businesses?
Well, what we've experienced is it's the bigger families, and some people have caught on to it being used for green waste. So I'm aware of the odd person who does have an extra red bin for their green waste and other waste, but it could be for various reasons.
And of course, we charge for the additional bins.
It's correct. They pay an extra.
Is that money totally enough to cover?
Yes,
consequences of
that's
that
how we've worked out the extra charges based on the costs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Lovett.
Yeah, just a question I was asked a few weeks back. If someone comes to the reuse shop and there's something minor wrong with a toy or a truck missing a wheel, does it get fixed and go on sale, or does it just get discarded out? Is there a handy person there that will fix minor things and sell them, or out?
Through the chair, we don't have a person, because we have to understand that the income of the reuse shop goes directly to the contractor, doesn't go back to council. So
Yeah, okay. Right.
I've just got a question on the reuse shop. So the big clothing bins that used to be dotted around Ashburton, I've heard that they've been taken away because there was too much rubbish going in them. So does that mean that our reuse shop has had a sort of an influx of materials coming in, and are they accepting them all, or do people like Councillor Lovett just mentioned, if something's broken, do they actually have to just put it in their red bin instead of thinking that they can donate it when it's actually broken or a ripped piece of clothing?
Yeah, through the chair. So there's a person in the shop that's actually look at the items that can be sold, and if they're not classified to be sold, then they go directly to the pit for disposal.
Yes, so they're quite careful in what they accept and what they don't. But we have noticed an increase because there just seems to be an influx of a lot of unacceptable clothing being dumped everywhere. So we just got to be very strict with what we accept and what we don't.
Thank you. Any other questions for Hernando on solid waste? No, we'll move to stockwater operations with Chrissy. Thanks, Hernando. Page 38, and then page 39 is the stockwater exit transition. And you've got a meeting tonight in Methven for Methven Auxiliary. Good luck. Mayor Brown.
Just look at the applications for closure in 47 NMR School Road. Is that an old favourite? Is that new one?
So 40, it's actually, that's the address of the owner. The actual race we've actually have just closed off, and it was down the Ashburton Gorge Road. The Arundarukaya Gorge Road. The address that's in there is actually the address of the actual applicant.
Oh, should you not have the actual address of the race, please?
That is correct, yes. I have discovered that. Yes, you're right.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Chrissy, could you perhaps just run through, for the benefit of everybody, the work we're going to be doing on the Mount Harding stream with regards to the flows? You know, we've commissioned someone to do some work on that.
Through the chair, I've actually just spent 2.5 days. Mr. McCann was happy to see me turn up in the office at 12:15, so I was here. So we're just, at the moment, Aqualink are undertaking flow gauging measurements at 18 locations. We started at Pudding Hill, Washpen, Pudding Hill, Scarness, Methven Auxiliary, Drayton's Gate, Forest Drive, and we're just finishing off coming down to Methven Highway. So there's 18 different locations where we've been doing the flow measurements. So that's capturing what we're putting in and what we're taking out, and then what's left coming through.
So that information, will that go to the stockwater transition group, or will that come to council? How does that work? Because I'm guessing, especially the Mount Harding, is more of a sort of a biodiversity matter than stockwater. Am I correct?
Perhaps I could perhaps talk
yes,
to that.
Would
So
be good,
the
thank you.
stockwater transition group will deal with the stockwater, physical water that animals drink first, and once it's dealt with that, it'll come to a recommendation which will come to council on that. So if you think of it in 3 parts, the second part is probably any stormwater ramifications. That'll go to Neil and his team, come back as a recommendation that there's implications here, and he'll have to deal with that through Three Waters operations. And the third part is the environmental community aspirations, you could call them. And this is part of that, just to give us some information with the Mount Harding stream. So when the committee will look at it and try and understand it, and then put some recommendations maybe, or some information back to council to analyse it and decide what to do from an environmental point, because that's outside the scope effectively of the stockwater committee, that environmental flow. It could be we haul in ECAN in that process too, saying this is part of your responsibility. So that would be part of that recommendation back. So you think of it in 3 parts: the stormwater, the stockwater, and the other implications.
And that might be a good thing to explain at the meeting tonight, just so people understand how it will work going forward, maybe. Thank you. Any other questions on stockwater? No, thanks, Chrissy. Next we have roads and footpaths. We have Mark here, page 40. Hi, Mark. Anything to add? Any questions? Councillor Wilson.
On Monday, we had the great opportunity with the zonal committee and the Mid-Canterbury Catchment Collective to go and look at Lake Camp and drive around the countryside looking at things to try and enlighten everybody about that. And there was a lot of comments about this, the jutta bars and the road to Lake Camp. When was it last graded?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can find out. I can report to the workshop tomorrow if you like. So, yeah.
Councillor Lovett.
Just following on from that, do we ever have a traffic count up there, knowing how many vehicles are going up and down that road? Because it is a very busy highway with tour buses and stuff, and it would be interesting, you know, whether we need more gravel in those potholes or what, because it was quite bumpy.
Don't have many counts on our unsealed network, but we have got on the sealed roads leading to it. So again, we've got that information. Traffic counting on unsealed roads isn't something we do much of. A lot of estimates there, but it's seasonal, the traffic up there as well, depending on what's going on. So.
Councillor Mackle.
Yeah, Mark, I was on that bus and yeah, I was just about shaken sensible. There was a, with the roadie committee, you said you had people going around checking those roads. So obviously that road hasn't been checked. Yeah, my other thing is the pothole on Henderson's Road has been fixed. And thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you. Any other questions on roading? Yeah, Councillor Lovett.
Just like we've got winter sort of coming up, does the staff ever have a big drive around the district looking at roads and their potholes and try and get them fixed before the winter comes with more water sinking into them and opening them up further? Or are you relying on snap, send and solve to fix them?
It's a combination of people reporting a snap, send, solve or phone calls, council staff driving around and contractors driving around. So yes, we're always trying to get on top of those repairs before the winter, and that's when most of the heavy maintenance is done over the summer of the sites that we've got programmed. So they're pretty much completed now. We're spending all our money. But you have to keep an eye on things over the winter as well, and keep doing patching where they come up. So.
I might have to do a bit of snap sending solving on the way home.
Councillor Wilson.
With this reference to sealed road resurfacing, I'm pleased to see the 50 k's was done at a cost of 1848, which is approximately $37,000 a kilometre. Does that same price equate to the rest of the because if I've divided 36,000 by 4.6 million, I got 125 kilometres of resurfacing. Yeah. Was that a special deal, or is, because at 37,000 we can do a lot of k's? Is the standard fee dearer than that, or was that a special one-only offer?
Well, just the extra 50 kilometres was added to the schedule we already had in place. So there's a whole range of reseals that are done, from single coat with grade 4 or grade 3, 2 coat seals and things like that. So with the extra 50 kilometres, to get that done, to be added on to what we already had, we chose sites that were due to be done, but we're going to be in the 50 years. But we're actually quite simple ones that were mainly single coat seals and things like that. So we could actually get that length done for the money that we had, so good value. So overall, the rate per kilometre for the X50 was less than what for overall. But so the average, I think, across the whole network is like 45,000 a k or something like that. So yeah, it was just the opportunity. If we had that money to spend, we thought we'd do the sites that are easy and didn't need much prepare work to get them ready for sealing either. Otherwise, it would have taken too long. So.
Thank you. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Mark, even though it's not our patch, the State Highway 1 fix that's going on just outside Mitre 10, I'm getting a lot of feedback about it, and yep, it's NZTA. But do you know how, you haven't heard from them at all, how that's all progressing and leading on to the paving work that they're going to be doing?
Well, I think the water main work has been progressed and it's nearly there. I think the paving work has been delayed 4 days or something, just to do with the availability of the mill and the mix and things like that. So they're still programmed to do it over the next
couple of weeks, I think. So yeah, it's still on track. There'll be a lot of disruption during that period. Having just driven down south over the last day or so, there's repair works going on lots of places, and temporary traffic management is something that on our rural roads, I think, yeah, I've got my thoughts on. A lot of 30k speed limits that didn't need to be 30k. So thank you.
Mayor Brown.
2.5.8, page 43. Street lights as part of power undergrounding, 290k. What's that project?
Well, every year EA Networks has some power that they're undergrounding. That's sort of the end of its life, the poles and things like that. So when they underground the power, the street lights that are attached to the poles need new street light poles, individual poles. So that's done as part of that undergrounding. We sort of follow around their program. That's about what we spend every year. So
where does those monies come from? Subsidised or un?
Well, it's unsubsidised this year because it's normally part of our low cost, low risk projects, and that was one of the projects that we had to go forward with the money that wasn't spent on the resales. We had that, and the EA Networks already had their work program in it, so we still want to do that because it's just good practice. So.
EA Networks got a program next year for the same thing.
Yeah,
so we won't have any monies for that.
Well, we'll be reporting to council on the $2.5 million that's been approved to have a portion of that spent on that. So that's something a report will come to council for those projects, and that'll be one of those.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
Can I talk about page 44? We're too far ahead. Shall I wait?
Well, the top of page 44. We'll talk about contracts and then Lake Cod in a moment. So, are there any other questions for Mark? No, thank you very much. So there's no contracts or tenders for this reporting period?
No, all the contracts for this year have all been let. No more tenders.
Okay. And Lake Cod, Councillor Cameron, you had a question on that?
That's exactly right. Following recent warm, is this a report predated because the lake's been now into red alert?
Yes, this was written last week, and then on Thursday we did have the Health New Zealand issue a health warning based on a visual assessment undertaken last week. We haven't got the physical test results yet. I think they're due either later today or tomorrow.
To confirm or otherwise?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
Can you just remind me, Neil, if you've already told me, or tell me if I don't know, what are the levels? Can you tell me what that means, the levels, when you talk about algal levels or algal bloom?
It's quite technical. I can give you the breakdown of
like
what the measures are and what they measure for. Yes, I can provide that. Yep.
Okay.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Neil, the weed harvesters operating for 3 days a week, is that enough to get the job done, that we wanted it to do?
I mean, you could do more, but we believe for the purposes of water quality, that's enough. And we also are restricted with weather. Sometimes we can't, so that also does restrict it somewhat. But in terms of removing the weed and creating a path, we use the weed harvester to create a bit of a path in the weed to direct water, so it's almost like a channel in the water.
Right.
So we're really using the weed harvester as much as we can to try and improve the water quality and the circulation of the water. Okay. So we believe that's the best we can do for the time being. Yeah.
So there were some big events at the lake. There was a jet ski event and...
Yeah, very successful jet ski event. I mean, the main part of the lake is clear. It's really looking good. It's just the canals that are the worst. And that's naturally where the tests and where the assessments are done. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Are we continuing to lobby ECAN with regards to, a non-consumptive flow going through the lake? Because it came up at the zonal committee with, if you list, there's a long list of things in that same sort of thing with Mount Harding Creek, maybe Green Street Creek, Lake Camp, this one, and that could come up furthermore with when we move through the stockwater closure process. Are we continuing to lobby them instead of them just saying, no, we can't do it?
Whenever we can. We certainly have. We've had several meetings. We've raised it with just about everyone we can at ECAN. However, there has been a recent staff movement, but we'll raise it with a new staff member when they start and just keep on seeing if we can make progress with that.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
I've done a few send solves to ECAN with regards to Old Man's Beard and Broome down on the river trail, on the south side of the river, and I've had a reply back to say there's essentially no money for that. to deal with that. What do we do about that? We're not allowed to go there. If we don't want old man's bed migrating into people's gardens or broom migrating, and we're not allowed to go down there and spray it, what's our options there?
We can just contact ECAN and work with our contacts and pass on the concerns and the complaints. More than that.
Would they rate local to get the money to do down to spray or whatever however they're going to eradicate it? Do they rate locally for that? Is that a targeted rate?
I'm not sure what that particular works and how they rate for that.
Can we look into that?
Have to ask
Because
ECAN.
we need, if it is a targeted rate and they're not doing the job, then we need to push back on that and say, well, you're rating for that. If it's not, well, we need to consider how it can be dealt with, because we can't just let it run rampant down there, which is what it's currently doing.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Thank you. So there's a couple of points to note there. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Ellis.
Just following on from that, if it was on private land, ECAN could enforce that person to clear it themselves, but when it's on their land, they don't see the rules quite round the same way, and I struggle with that.
Thank you. Thanks, Neil. We're going to skip afternoon tea because we've just had lunch. We'll have afternoon tea at the end if that's all right. So we'll move on to compliance and development. So we'll welcome Ian up, and I've got Michael's report on page 45.
Jim and
Yes.
Jim and Shelley.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Michael. Anything that you would like to add to your report?
Through the chair, just to comment quickly on the percentages dropping for January and February, down from 100% to 95 and 97. They were part of the historic COVID consents that we had the big backlog on. So 1 from 22 and 2 from 23 year. So, and before anybody asks, we've still got 4 more of those outstanding ones. 1 from 2021, 1 from 2022, and 2 from 2023. And we've got no way of forcing those people to activate those consents quickly. So whenever they decide to do that, that'll affect my numbers.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Any other questions on the report, Councillor Lovett?
Now that you've got the GIS mapping system, will you be using it looking at properties, some lifestyle blocks out there with a proliferation of buildings that people are living in? Because we have people out there who get their building consents and build their sheds and things. They're all compliant. And then we have people that are putting up these buildings that are ramshackled and people are living in them, and you sort of got to ask, where's the fairness in the system? I know there was one that's always got a shut gate and whenever officers come around, but I'm thinking now that you've got your mapping, you'll be able to focus in and have a look at the district a bit better.
Through the chair, we do have our CRM system, so people do email or phone in with complaints about unauthorised buildings, and we do investigate those. And then I suppose if we ever get quiet, we could sit there and look at a map and try and compare historic photos to current aerials. But at the moment, we just act straight away on the CRMs that do come in.
Mayor Brown.
3.1.3 Freedom Lifestyle Villages for 250 units they're going to build. Whereabouts is that?
Through the chair, that's at Strohan Fields on the corner of Beach Road East and Travers Road.
Right. Thank you.
Same question. Thank you. I had that same question as well. That's good. Any other questions for Michael? No, thanks, Michael. Next, we have got Civil Defence Emergency Management. We've got Rick covering for Jim today. So Jim's done a report on both January and February. Are there any questions on that report? Been very busy by the looks of things. Sorry, Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Jim yesterday. He was very quick on the phone to various groups around the earthquake down south and the wave surge type threat, and letting people know there was no tsunami threat. So, I'd just like you to pass on our thanks for how quick he acted on that.
Through the chair, thank you. I'll pass that on.
Thanks for that. If there's no other questions.
I was just going to.
Sorry,
Can
Councillor
I just
Lovett.
make a comment there? We had a civil defence meeting last night, and they've got a big flash television screen down there, and they were showing us. Jim was showing us how it worked, and they brought up the earthquake, and you can write on it and all sorts of things. I think it's actually probably quite good for the councillors actually to go and have a look at this cut. It's well used. It will be well used and a good piece of kit.
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, he's very happy with that.
Okay. Yeah, Ian said we can have a look at it, popping down and having a look. Thank you. So Rick's alcohol licensing bylaw monitoring and enforcement reports on page 54. Any questions on that? No. Food safety report on page 56. Animal control first on page 55. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Rick, you've got 3.4.3, dog attacks reported, and then you've got number 2, for example, dog on person, no physical attack. Can you explain, is that just a stand up and barking at or something like that, or what's the...
Thank you. Through the chair, it's one of those situations where the initial report comes in as I've been attacked by a dog, but that could in fact just be I've been rushed at by a dog when the investigators are on the ground, which has occurred here. No physical attack.
Thank you.
Any other questions on animal control? We'll move to food safety, page 56. Mayor Brown.
Yeah, just look at the numbers of the numbers, but how safe is it? It's not telling us you've inspected them, but
Are they good or bad?
yeah, are they good or bad? Because I'm hearing different.
Thank you. Through the chair, any corrective actions tend to be a business as usual, but we would report on serious outcomes once that incident has been investigated and concluded. I would then add that into the activity sheet.
Thank you. Any other questions for Rick? No, thank you, Rick. We'll move now to planning, and we've got Brad up. His report is on page 57. Hi, Brad. Any questions on that report? You've explained it all. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. The LIMS, Land Information Memoranda, produced 55 or 70. I don't recall, so I presume I've had a LIM. Why are they quite a lengthy thing to do? Like, why do we report on those? Is that showing the interest in the market in the LIMS, or why are we reporting on LIMS?
Through the chair, there's a statutory time frame we have to meet on them.
Oh, so this is people developing a new property, wanting...
No, it's if you're buying a property, we encourage everybody to get a LIM beforehand so you understand all the information.
So you're printing them out and giving them out. So is that showing us market activity? Like, what is that showing us?
Market activity, probably. It's pretty hard to read into, though. You know, sometimes we get multiple LIMs for the same address, because if there's if you had a multi-offer or going to an auction, everybody would individually have to get their LIM. So there is a bit of duplication, but it does show that there's more activity in the market than this time last year.
Okay, so when you do limbs, you've got to have them done within 10 working days.
Yes.
And you charge a fee to generate a limb for the
Yes,
patient?
it's fully cost recoverable.
And what is that about? Can you tell? Being fees and charges, if you don't know, it doesn't matter.
Through the chair, I think it's approximately 250 or around that.
$250
Yeah,
to produce a limb.
270 maybe.
A 270, and if it's a commercial limb or a complicated limb, it's double that fee.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Mackel.
3.6.2 RMA upgrades generally. Central government are in the process of making amendments to allow for minor secondary buildings, which are referred to as granny flats. Is there any more information on that you can divulge with us, or?
No, we're waiting for the. So in terms of the planning side of it, I've been talking to Michael closely because they seem to be getting more updates through MB, but through MFE we haven't been getting much lately. We are expecting notification of the changes to there's 21 pieces of national direction changing this year, and we're expecting notification for that within the next few months, but we haven't had an update for a while.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Are you referring to like the government said that you can build an unconsented building out the back as long as it's smaller than so much? Is that what you mean?
Yes, so it's like a dwelling though. So at the moment you can build I think up to 30 square metres without a building consent.
In your backyard?
Yeah, in your backyard. So this is saying that it will mean that you can have another dwelling in your backyard, which has density implications. So that has both planning requirements and building requirements, so it aligns with the RMA and the Building Act.
Yeah, and you'd have to hook up to the wastewater or if it was in town, presumably.
Yep, or through the existing connection you have for your other dwelling. That part's still unclear.
Okay. So you would have a workshop on that or whenever that legislation comes into being?
So through the chair, yes, there'll definitely need to be socialisation with yourselves because there's bound to be flow-on effects from what we have to do to give effect to that legislation.
Absolutely.
And big impact on the community, potentially, yeah.
Thank you. No further questions for you. Thanks, Brad. Next we have Simon, Economic Development, and Simon's report's on page 60. Hi, Simon. Lots going on in your department. Any questions on that? Councillor Wilson.
You've mentioned the 3 services on Anzac. There's many more of them in the district, so what are you meaning by the 3?
Through the chair, this is the service opposite the old council building, and it's we're involved because of road closures, so that they're marching down the state highway. So the events team support that event in terms of helping the road closure navigate through its piece. We help with electricity and things, power for the events.
Councillor Mackel.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Mayor Task Force for Jobs. There's been 2 restricted for driver's licences. There's been 2 for restricted, 1 for Class 1, 5 for endorsements, and 2 for Class 2. There's a major shortage in truck drivers. Is there any interest in looking towards helping out there a little?
Yeah, through the chair, absolutely. The issue with getting somebody through to a truck driver is the time frames that through the graduated driving system that we currently have. So when a young person comes to us and wanting to get to there, what we're doing is generally working with them at the start of that process. So the restricted licence, the full licence, moving them through. We have helped in the past with commercial licences, and it's something that we do if the person's ready to do it. Often with the young people we're working with, they're not quite at that stage for us to provide support, but we are, as you can see, providing support further back down the graduated system.
Sorry, so from what you're saying, there is an opening. You would encourage people along if they came to you and...
Yeah, if they're young people that meet the criteria that we're working with, and they're ready to go through their commercial driving tests, then we'll certainly help them do that.
Thanks.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. G'day, Simon. The consultants who are working on the cycle trail, I've got a feeling you might have told me personally, but are they on track with their phase of work being completed by the end of this month?
Yeah, through the chair, everything's on track at this stage.
Awesome. Thank you.
I was going to ask a question on that as well. I missed the last meeting that they had up in Methven on the cycle trail, because I think we had something on here. I think. Do you know when there's another meeting? Will it be after this is completed?
Yeah, through the chair. I missed the same meeting, so but I understand there will be. One of the things that Exist will want to do is speak to all of the key stakeholders. So those people already involved in building tracks, they're going to want to have quite the conversation with, and aim to not. Well, the aim is that we aren't going to duplicate. We're going to help support where there's existing work going on, or where there's existing trails being built.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Can you explain to me the relation between LGNZ and Mayor's Task Force for Jobs? Because I read in the West Coast has pulled out of LGNZ and they were concerned about their funding for Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. Can you explain anything to do with that?
So I'm on the core group for Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, and you don't have to be an LGNZ member to be part of Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. Yeah. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Hello, Simon. Works begun on an Ashburton Town Street map, and once completed, they'll be printed and shared with local operators. Who now wants a local street map when you've got these things, and are the local operators paying for those same street maps?
Through the chair, this is something that's been worked on by Shelley. Fundamentally, yes, the demand, I think, is reducing for these maps. It's not it's certainly not as preeminent in terms of accessing information as it has been, but there is still a determined need, and I think the businesses want them as well. My understanding is that it's primarily being funded through the economic development and Experiencement Canterbury budget at this point, but it's more informational. It's more to do with pointing out where dog parks are and where those sort of facilities are.
Methven has a similar town map. I think they look the same, and businesses will pay to have their name on a line. So I'm guessing it's not all cost, but they're very well used. So people do still like a piece of paper. Councillor Lovett.
Just going to ask about the Learning Hub. How's that going, and with your local businesses having buy into it? And just at the end of this, is this going to be a building that's going to be built, or is it going to be the education department that will fund that, or what's the thoughts going forward?
Yeah, through the chair. So the main feasibility work on and answering those questions you've just posed will take place in next year's LTP year, and that's where the feasibility to flesh out what's required is going to take place. What I would say is that the work we've done to date and bringing the different educational providers together has been super useful, and there's a much increased dialogue taking place between those providers. We're seeing organisations like Keep Learning Mid Canterbury and the Employers Chamber of Commerce or Business Canterbury, collaborating around advertising, training events and things like that. So I think the notion of a learning network is coming out really strongly, that this all working together to achieve the outcomes that the district needs is a really key outcome to date. As to whether we're looking at a building or just a smarter way of doing business that we've already got, it's too early to say at the moment, but I would say that what we intend to do is keep building on the networks that are being developed and the outcomes that we're seeing from those at the moment.
You want to answer?
Sorry.
Right, Councillor Hooper.
Yeah, thank you. The CBD vibrancy program of work, there's some good-looking ideas there. I especially like the idea of creating a loyalty app for Ashburton shoppers with discounts and promotions. Has that been run past some of our retailers to get us on what they're thinking about that?
Through the chair, we've had conversations with the local retailers over the last 2 or 3 years in terms of ideas for the CBD. So some of these have fallen out of there. Some of them are thinking that we're doing at the moment. So they, as you say, they are just ideas as to the ways that we could increase vibrancy. There is a project scheduled in the LTP and the economic development strategy to do this. Actually in the economic development strategy to do this. When time comes and we've got that sort of runway where we're working on this, these ideas will get socialised a lot more, along with, I'm sure everybody's got a plethora of things they'll bring to the table as well.
Councillor Cameron.
My question follows the same thing, really, Simon. I love seeing this pedestrian count, and it looks sort of resilient to a certain extent, I think. It's not dropped too much. Are we going to have it? We have had a meeting with the retailers, was it about 3 or 4 months ago? And are we going to have another one and present this information to them? Have you got that on your agenda?
Through the chair, I haven't got it on my agenda, and I'm largely led by when the CBD group wants to meet. So
okay,
when they do have their meetings, I try and make a point
Come in. I'll chase it up. My other question. Can I ask another question? Please. Thanks, Madam Chair. Has any external if you're allowed to tell me, I don't know, any external body asked for this sort of pedestrian numbers or measured the vibrancy asked you for the figures or anything like that? No.
Through the chair, no.
So when we got a report recently I think it was presented last week on property in the council that talked about CBD vibrancy and what we could do and numbers coming into CBD, and they didn't use this to inform that report.
Through the chair, not to my knowledge, but I mean, this information's available
on our website.
It's available. The council teams would be able to access my reporting of this.
It might be something we just need to.
Is it something that could go out in comms? Councillor Todd.
Thank you. It was interesting use of collaboration with the campaign with the Brit Cunningham. The fact that you promoted the use of influencers, I suppose, created comments outside the region as well. So so if they're talking about you, then that's good news. So that using influencers is something that we obviously should maybe continue with.
Yeah, through the chair. That's the very fine work of Shelley Donnelly. So, but I'll make sure that I pass that on.
I think that influencer article probably got shared more times around. Yeah, it was very clever. Mayor Brown.
Yes, a couple of questions on the data, street count data. Now we've got a few months of it. Can we start putting it on the website now so if people wanted to see it, then they can, for whatever purposes they use it? And just looking at the numbers, we've only got, this is the first count for the months we're going into. We've got nothing to compare with, which you won't for another year because you can't. Is there data elsewhere which says a town of this size with that street, that many shops, to be vibrant, it should have X number of visitors along it? So we can use this to compare with a similar vibrant town elsewhere. Is there something we can use this data for? Because you look at it, it's 3,500 or whatever people walk down there a day. Well, that sounds a lot, but it might be or it might not. I know we've got no data for other centres to say it's good or bad.
So through the chair, we don't get comparative data with other centres, but the people whose system we're using have this system in a number of councils around New Zealand. So I'll go back to them and ask whether there's any sort of similar data that we could benchmark
ask
against.
is this a good number or is it a bad number, or how are we tracking? Until we get a few years down the track, we won't really know. So comparing with others might help, perhaps.
A question from me, do we then overlay that with the number of people that are employed in the CBD? Because I think the report that we got around the town centre, it showed how many people were working in the CBD. So that might be good to look at as well. Mayor Brown, have you got another question?
Yeah. One on the time of day people wander down the street. I don't think it's here. It's in that little green graph, but it's hard to decipher.
Okay.
Yeah, are they walking to work, or are they shopping through the day?
Yeah.
Time of day might be useful as well, if it could be broken down.
So through the chair, absolutely can break it down into 15-minute segments, I think. But certainly I can break each day down. The problem from a reporting perspective to yourselves is then the graphs get huge very quickly.
Perhaps if it was on the website, it may be available there. If people want to go in there, they could break it down. I don't know.
You can slice and dice the data.
Yeah, if it goes to the website, perhaps others could do that.
Yep.
Thanks.
Sounds good, thank you. Any other questions for Simon? No, thank you very much. Thanks, Ian. Next up, we have people and facilities. We've got Amanda here. And Amanda's report's on page 76. And we've got Sarah coming up. Any questions on that report there, Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. Hi, Amanda. The CRM's a massive jump in the curbside one for February, which is throwing out the bottom line dramatically as well. Was there a theme to that, or so what caused it, I suppose?
Through the chair, there was a big increase with the auditors going out and about and auditing the bins from probably the January holiday break. And so that saw a huge amount of pullbacks of bins and also removing of the yellow recycling bins from people's properties for gross contamination would be the big bump in the...
So that creates a CRM when that happens, though, is that?
Yes, it is. Yes, it
okay.
Is. So when a bin is confiscated, we hold it for 3 months, and then that person who's either tenanted that property or property owner will call us to ask for that back. So that CRM stays open for 3+ months until that call comes in to get the bin back. And that's when we provide a bit of education to what was in the bin if they hadn't already called in, why it was confiscated, and the opportunity of sending out booklets, stickers, just to keep educating them on the right types of recycling material.
Thank you. Question for me on the rates rebates. So are you still going out to some of the other towns to, how often do you do that? I think you used to go up to Methven to do some rates rebates.
Yes, through the chair, we went in about October in the school holidays. We tend to go out to the Rakaia, we go out to Methven. Those are the two centres that really have the larger population for us to make it worthwhile. We have done our home visits where we go to people that are a little bit more unable to get out or rely on a family member to come and collect them. We find it's easier to go to them. And they're just sort of now coming in dribs and drabs. We'll have another wee plug before we print the next instalment of getting batches away, but they're sort of steadied. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Amanda?
The only comment I was just going to make and want to, I guess congratulate Amanda and her team. When you were in the top 10, we got 7th overall, and actually when it was compared with just the district councils, we got 3rd out of all of New Zealand. So I think they've done really well in the mystery shop, and thank you and keep it up.
Well done. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Todd, you got a quick...
I was going to ask about the mystery shopper. So the mystery shopper, they don't do anything in person. They don't come into the counter and interact with you. It's all done remotely, basically.
Yes, through the chair. It's several phone calls at different times during the day, and several emails just coming in from ALGM, the All of Local Government organisation that does it through all the councils and regional councils throughout the country. So it is purely just that phone and email contact. Yes, yeah.
Good, thank you. Next we have Jill. You've walked in right at the right time. Ashburton Library, and Jill's report's on page 78. Have you got anything to add, Jill? You've had a busy old time as well.
Just we've been working on the holiday programs for young people and children, so a little bit shorter this time because of the short week after Easter, but yeah, we'll certainly have good activities for them.
Thank you. Question from Councillor Cameron.
I can't believe how many events go on downstairs. It's just, it's so lovely to see. I have a question. We had experiences early on about antisocial behaviour. Has that all gone away now, improved, disappeared?
We've been very fortunate lately that we haven't had any examples of that, so we're just hoping that good trend continues.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Jill.
Any other questions? I see the Justice of the Peace have moved into they're moving into the library on the 1st of April, which I think they're all very excited about. So that's good. I think that's in line with a lot of other Justice of Peaces having a drop-in centre at libraries, so that's good.
We used to have them for a while over at the old library and it was very successful. So, yeah, we're very pleased to have them.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for Jill? No, thank you for popping up. Next we have Richard. His report's on page 83. Hi, Richard.
Hi, afternoon everyone.
Have you been practising your volleyball?
I've been practising my look on a volleyball court. Not so sure about the volleyball skills, but valid point. That was one of the things I did want to add today, of course, is the opening of the sand and grass volleyball courts. So looking forward to seeing as many people as possible along for that. The other thing I just wanted to add to the report was a bit of a summary, maybe a little more detail around Hempstead Pool. So you'll be aware that the EA Network Centre pool area was shut through January for a lot of maintenance. That maintenance is now complete. During that time, we were lucky enough to partner with Hempstead Pool. We had 626 swimmers during that time, 496 of which were children. So it was really cool to see people out there using that pool where they otherwise don't generally get the opportunity to use the Hempstead Pool. Hempstead School at this stage only use it generally for their school purposes and not for public. So it was a really great opportunity. The school principal and the committee were very thankful of the small investment from council as well to improve the plant operations and the health and safety in that pool, and it will keep them in a great position going forward for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
So how long was EA Network Centre pool closed for? Well, it was all of January?
Through the chair, that's correct. It was closed for all of January. It technically closed on 31st of December and then reopened on the 3rd of February.
Okay. And in that time, I suppose the weather wasn't great. There was 500, how many people did you say took advantage of that?
626.
And 500 young people?
Just on, yeah, just under.
And presumably most of those were in the weekends, I'm guessing, or the hot days?
To be fair, a Wednesday, I've got the numbers in front of me, a Wednesday, roughly the 22nd of January, was actually the busiest day with 86 people visiting that day.
And what, went down to 5 people visiting some days?
Some day I've got a 3 and a 2 in front of me. It really will be weather. I can tell you from experience, every outdoor pool is affected by weather.
Of course, by weather.
We had days whilst operating Tynwald that could be nobody, and then other days that could be 100 to 200 people. So it's very much affected by weather.
It's an outdoor pool thing. And that all required 2 lifeguards to watch the pool.
We opened with 2 and then operated with 3. We have to allow our lifeguards breaks throughout the day, so we always have 3, same operation as Tynwald ultimately, 3 lifeguards on site during those times.
Thank you.
Mayor Brown?
Well, Richard, in other years, does Hempstead Pool open for the school people to use during the non-school days?
Through the chair, historically they have, but in recent years they chose not to. I think there was a little bit of vandalism or bad behaviour made the school and the pool committee choose not to open for the wider community at that point. They did do a couple of drop-in days after we finished this year, so that was quite cool to see, but in a general sense they only operate during the school hours for the school community and their activities.
So you wouldn't call it a high use time over that time?
For Hempstead School, no, we chose a time that they wouldn't normally be otherwise operating the pool. To be fair, it'd be the time they'd be setting up the pool for February, March.
Because it was used, but it wasn't swamped.
Correct.
Yeah.
Councillor Hooper. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, I was just going to comment. The Hempstead pool was fantastic in terms of providing that opportunity to having a pool available. The weather was definitely not on our side, but everyone had the same sort of weather around Ashburton, so that was one thing. And Richard's point with regards to the setup, the school appreciated clearly the investment, but also having the pool up and going was fantastic then because it was already a bit warmer than as if they'd done it just prior to the school year. So there was kind of positives all round, and they were very happy with the arrangement, and the lifeguard team enjoyed being down there while we were trying to work out where they could be from the redeployment perspective. So look, it was a good experiment, and positive that there were people out there. Even on the coldest of cold days, we still got 1 or 2 people that were determined to go for a swim.
Thank you. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. So was there discussions with Hempstead going forward that when we do some maintenance shutdowns in the future that this could happen again, the same similar sort of arrangement?
Yeah. Through the chair, we haven't had that discussion as of yet. Our discussions with Hempstead were always very positive, so we've got a good working relationship with them. We haven't planned our next shutdown as of this point yet, though, so it would be too early to be having any conversations like that at this stage.
So do we need to have regular shutdowns, or was this just I know there was obviously reconfiguring going on as well, but I'm just thinking of pool.
Yeah, through the chair, every pool needs to have some form of shutdown to be able to undertake maintenance. A lot of the maintenance we do can't be done with public in the space, chemicals and machinery and all that kind of stuff. So we will have further shutdowns coming. We haven't planned them yet, and we'll be looking at that through the next annual plan and then into the LTP process before we start talking about exactly when those times will be. But every pool around the country does have shutdown times.
So yeah, it's nice to have this wee result, or there for us to lean on, I guess.
Yeah, if it gives you any context, many pools around the country do an annual shutdown period through the way that they maintain their pools, but we're very lucky that we're able to prolong the periods through kind of our continual improvement and continual maintenance of our facility.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just a quick, on the same topic, and I should have asked it earlier. When we were undergoing maintenance at the EA pools, were there cost savings in terms of electricity, staff, resource, other things that have gone into the financial accounts of EA networks?
Through the chair, we've realised electricity savings where we could, but many of those were probably still offset with contractor use anyway. So we might be able to slow down some of our area systems, but but contractors still need to use power. So they're not big, significant savings. All of our staff were redeployed for their normal contracted hours, so they got to go to Hempstead, they got to go out to some of the district pools. You would have seen them taking inflatables out to the district pools. They were part of our holiday program processes, etc., etc. There was a lot of different activities that they took.
Can I interrupt again? Sorry. The pool was maintained at its, because I understand at the EA networks, and I could have misunderstood, that heating the pools is very expensive.
Yes, it is expensive, but what's more expensive than keeping, it's kind of like a spa pool, keeping it at a consistent temperature is one cost, and that's what we have to bear, day on day. emptying pools and refilling them and then heating them from 0 to up is part of the shutdown costs, and that is expensive, and we've seen a spike in electricity.
With the pools emptied?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
So three,
Four.
four
So
pools
that
were
did
completely empty.
obviously
So that
occur
was part of the cost. Yeah.
Have we looked at the electricity, just out of interest?
Yes, we have, and there's
There's a spike in February.
There what?
There's a spike in February to show that as we refilled and reheated the pools and started all that that plant
that
and
stuff
heating
up,
back
yeah,
up,
heat it up, yeah.
the power does come back
So
up.
it
So
was
what
basically no saving, no extra charge, just fell on the line.
correct.
Thank you. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. The sand issue, is that, well, the backwash or whatever it is, sand in the pool, has that sort of been resolved?
We are working through some of our issues with some of our pools. We did have an issue with the leisure pool that we've talked about, where the filters failed, but we have been able to remedy that one, and our leisure pool is now back open. So we are working through our maintenance in our facility.
Cool. Thank
Right.
you. So,
Oh, you've got another question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, it's not really quick. Just a comment. Just the kids' triathlon on Sunday morning. I think congratulations to the whole team who were involved in that. Yeah, I think you had a record number of young people involved this year, and went off very well. So yeah,
Correct. 136 children off the top of my head took part in the kids' triathlon on Sunday, and it was the feedback we've had has been overwhelmingly positive, and yeah, we're looking forward to planning the next one, and thank you to Councillor Todd for his time giving out the medals.
I've just got a couple of questions to finish off. So was that triathlon, was that $40 to enter per child, is that correct?
There was an early bird price that I can't remember off the top of my head, and then yes, it was $40 per child to enter. For that, they got to take home a T-shirt, a medal, a certificate. There was definitely some take-homes from it as well. A lot of that cost with running a triathlon goes into things like traffic management and health and safety. It's not an easy thing to pull off.
Yeah, fair enough. And just two more questions. You've had your first women's swim night for March. Have you had that?
Correct. That was, I want to say, last week. I'm looking at the date, possibly the week before, and it was well received. We are going to be running them throughout the rest of the year through until December. There'll be one a month from here on in.
That's good. And adult swim lessons, when do they come on board? They've started?
They've started. We've actually had quite probably a bit more interest than we thought we would have had in some of the adult swim lessons. So some of the levels are really well received, and some of them are a little bit quieter. But we're going to do quite a lot of promotion and some opportunities for people to get involved in that over the coming months as well.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for that. We'll move now to Ashburton Art Gallery and Museum and welcome Shireen up. And her report is on page 90. Again, lots happening with you too. Have you got anything to add?
No, thank you.
No? Any questions? Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Dr. Mike Dickinson, has he finished his project, Wikipedia project now?
Thank you. Through the chair, no, it's still ongoing. So there's been significant research going into the articles that he's updating. Okay. So no, he's still at it.
I just wanted to say congratulations to whoever organised that, because we had a doctor in here saying if there's one thing we can do to attract other doctors to this region, it's update our Wikipedia page. So somebody listened, got this organised, and yeah, well done.
Any other questions? Mayor Brown.
Welcome, Shireen. The ADC art collection, you've the pottery and the art collection, you've swapped it over. Where will we see that pottery?
Through the chair, do you mean where the ones that we've swapped out have gone?
Where's the display?
Yep, so there is a series of plinth boxes just outside this area.
That's where it is, yeah.
So they are the new pottery. There's some in the landing of where your office and the CEO's office is.
Too, yeah.
So there's some there, and that's probably the majority. There's another 3 little plinths on the ground floor opposite the elevator.
Thanks.
Yep.
Councillor Cameron.
The online display of our civic art collection, is that going now? Is that out there now?
Through the chair, it's not fully public yet. All the data is online, but we haven't moved to that next step of actually making it all available publicly.
That would be great for people to see that.
Fantastic, we will. Thank you.
And I went in the weekend to the opening of the latest 2 exhibitions. Tremendous turnout. Yeah, really, really good.
Yes, and we've had a number of, I'm going to say workshops, or not even workshops, but just information sessions on a range of topics, and they've been so well received. We've had the Learning Centre packed out, which has been really, really positive to see the uptake and the interest in the community on the range of topics that you present. So, yeah, no, well done.
Really good, thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Just one more comment. I'm looking forward to our art, heritage and culture strategy sharing and how we move forward and ensure the involvement of the community in that development as well, which I think is forecast. 25, 26. Yeah.
Me too.
Before the elections, I'm hoping. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good point, thank you. Thanks, Shireen. We now move on to democracy and engagement. Thanks, Sarah. And first of all, we've got Janice up with communications and Tony. So Janice's report is on page 96. Councillor Ellis, question.
Just sitting in a different chair, and I see the big screen out there. There was talk at one time of putting information up on that big screen for general public to view, and that has that happened at all?
Yes, through the chair, we have installed a system now that enables staff to be able to play whatever they like, essentially. Yep.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Hi, Janice. I just read that we have 11 council Facebook pages. What do they all cover? I thought it was good just to have one.
Thank you. Through the chair, maybe I'll list them next time. We have like the Methven Community Board page, we have the Ashburton Library page, and Network Centre, so on and so forth.
Me Brown.
Just thinking about the big screen, does it get turned off at night? Was it on all the time? Do you know?
No, sorry, I don't know the answer to that one.
For someone mentioned to me that it is on all the time. It will limit the life of it if it is, but I don't know who looks after it. But.
Maybe Sarah can look into that for us. Thank you. Councillor Meckle.
Thank you. Just the live streaming. As a council, I see that unfortunately we seem to be, as far as lighting goes, keeping Councillor Lovett in the dark down there. Could that be fixed?
Thank you. Through the chair, I can talk to our property team about how we can try and distribute the lighting more evenly. We did give that a go when we first moved into this building, but it's turned out to be actually quite a task.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. The printed out what's on guide for over the Christmas period, is that going to be something you're looking at doing for all of the school holidays? Because it never left our kitchen table and was well referred to.
Through the chair, thanks. That's really good to hear. Yes, we actually are having the April holiday guide printed right now.
Okay.
So we'll start promoting that next week.
And is that being printed locally again?
Yeah.
Nice work.
Any further questions for Janice? No, thanks, Janice. Next we have strategy and policy. Mark is here and his report starts on page 100. Hi, Mark. I just wanted to start by saying how amazing your team have been with the Methven strategic plan. We've had quite a few workshops, and then at the Methven show a couple of weeks ago we had a stand there, and we had some boards up around some hay bales, and people could come up and put a sticker on, and gee, we got some engagement, probably the best we've ever had. So well done to your team. It's been a really cool project to be part of. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. One question. I'm looking at upcoming projects. Can I do that? 5.2.3? Is that okay?
Yeah, what page is it?
104, top of 104. Hey, what order do you do these in? You're talking about bylaw reviews, policy reviews, strategy plan reviews. How are they ordered?
We have a program that sets out basically the review order, so based on when each of them are due for review. So some of them are on different cycles, so it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years.
So when these, can we influence the order, or is that written here? You know, like you've got dog control, we're talking about bylaw now, open spaces, brothel location.
Some of them you can, but the ones that are legislatively required, like bylaws, for example, and some policies, we have to do them according to the law.
Okay. Because there's no sneakiness in my question, but I'm just looking at the strategy and plan reviews. That was all just for consideration.
Yeah. Tony.
Thank you. Yep. So we heard that request last week, so we'll be bringing to you what the next 12 months looks like.
Yep.
In terms of if there's something that's favoured more by council to bring forward, just remembering that there's always a trade-off.
Thank you.
But the legislatively required ones we just have to do.
Sure. And may I ask one more question, please? Are the halls, you know, memorial halls coming up in this activity briefing? I want to ask a question on the memorial.
It is, but it's further down.
Oh, it's right.
Yeah, it's a different. Yeah. Councillor Wilson.
The water race bylaw, I see that we're estimated completion at the 20th of June, June 2025. Is it not going to confuse the issue when we're trying to shut them and we're putting a bylaw in place? Could we not leave that for another year till close to the expiry date, so that then we've gone through the process and it'll become quite clear where we're heading, rather than just putting something in now that's going to confuse the issue?
I guess we're looking at that one because it's currently due and it's actually expired. So it's come into the 2-year cycle as to when it would expire. So at this stage, you'll see that it expires September 26. So the intention, I guess, is to ensure that there's still something in place to manage that going forward, given that the exit from Stockwater will still be ongoing.
Just on that, what's the possibility of extending it for 1 year, because we're exiting it? We don't want to waste time and effort on something that's not going to last. Can we just extend it for a year to line up with the 27 year?
That's certainly one of the options that we can put forward to. Yeah.
That's good. Oh, the other one, you got a consultation on page 105, the river gravel management strategy. It's due the 7th of April, which is not far away. What were you planning on doing with the strategy, the submission?
So at this stage, we're currently, it's only just come on our radar. So we've got officers talking to each other just about the issues or any particular issues as part of that strategy. The hope is that we can bring it to, I think it was a council meeting before then. No, next week. Sorry, no, it's not going to that. So we'll probably bring it to you to sign off.
Great.
Yep.
Me as in council?
As you as mayor.
Okay.
Yep. We can certainly share it wider if there's wider interest.
Information anyway.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
The Methven Community Strategic Plan is ticking along nicely, obviously. When does the how does our relationship with it? Because if they come out with a plan that is a wonderful plan, but it's an opposite direction to the council, how do you align the two plans when we haven't actually been involved in it yet, or have formally been presented with it or anything yet?
So I guess the plan's adopted by the board. So they will, the intention I think is that they'll adopt it sort of by the end of May, and going forward I guess it's about them liaising and promoting what's in the plan as part of the board, but also come into council if there's funding requests or any other requests that they want to get alongside the strategies and the objectives that are in the plan. So it's effectively it's the board's plan, but obviously they're working in partnership with the council.
You say working in partnership with the council, they're not working in partnership with the council laws, and they could have 2 councillors on the board, but the rest of the councillors have nil input. So how does that relationship work?
I think you can, so as a councillor, you could go onto the council website and look at the strategic plan, because it's up there in a draft portion at the moment. You're welcome to come along to any of the community board meetings, and I think we had a discussion right at the start that the community board wanted to own the plan, so they wanted to do a lot of the legwork and get the voices, but it didn't stop anyone else from putting a submission in or coming along to the meeting. So I guess I don't know, could the community board come along and present to the council once it's been adopted?
Yes, they certainly could.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, it's just my concern that a community board adopts a plan, but the council almost needs to understand it, while they're doing it, so that then they can maybe make suggestions that, there's a lot of knowledge around the table that could make suggestions that maybe that won't work, or that's no options. Would we have to do that individually submitting, or is that the logic?
Through the chair, what we'll do is we'll circulate the draft as it is right now that's currently out for consultation, and if you see anything individually or collectively that you'd like to have a conversation about, then you can get in touch and we'll help weave that in to the final.
And I think we still have to respect that the community board take ownership of the plan as well. Any other questions for Mark? No, thank you, Mark. Next we have Anne on memorial halls and reserve boards. So that's on page 110. Councillor Cameron, you had.
Thank you, and I apologise. I have to have an appointment at 3. And through the chair, the new hall booking system, which we're all looking forward to. When is that actually kicking in, please?
Through the chair, that's reliant on, as per Gordon, he spoke to that in the information systems piece. So they're just working through the plan at the moment of how they're going to roll that through. I'm not sure on the exact dates, but it's pretty urgent.
Next month or the month after, or we don't know?
I'm still waiting for Gordon to work those details out. There's a bit to it once it gets
because
rolled
that would
through.
be, well, as you know, we currently have at Timwood Hall somebody carrying around a pad and a phone and all the rest of it. So that would be really good to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got no dissenters amongst staff around the benefits of this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions on that report? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just under grants and funding, our latest round closed. I assume once again we were oversubscribed for the most areas of that.
Yes, we are. The team are busy frantically processing the over 100 applications that we've received. So yes, we are oversubscribed in all the funds. Council will meet to discuss that next month.
Thank you. So we've moved on to grants and funding. Any other questions on that? It's page 111. No, thanks, Anne. Last we have welcoming communities. Page 112, welcome Mercedes. And report there. Any questions for Mercedes? Councillor Lovett.
I was just going to ask, on the changeover on dairy farms every year, are you planning to put brochures out in the rural areas because a lot of migrants and that work on farms and they change over, and some of them are very much on their own, not knowing who to contact, where to go, or where their play centres are, or who to contact, and because the previous ones often get rid of it or take that information with them, and it would be nice to sort of get those back into around the districts, if on known farms or put out with the Royal Mail, just some vital telephone numbers of groups and contacts and where they can go, or even the community book or something that gets put out.
Thank you. We are working with Federated Farmers and Rural Sport Trust to approach farmers to give this information to their new employees. And also we're working with COMS to have a campaign in May. That's before the new staff move farms. So they have that information there for them as well.
And Mercedes, do you have that information for newcomers on the website, on our council website as well? So that could be
Yes, that's
where
what
they
we're
find
promoting.
a lot of that information.
Yeah, that's what we're promoting.
And also that information, that welcoming guide that's sitting on our website, that's translatable. So it can be translated into different services based on a drop-down box. So that's been really well received.
Thank you. And I was just going to mention the launch of Te Koro Whakatiri, the video that's at the Art Gallery Museum. The launch was a really good night, and the video's well worth a watch. So if you've got, I think it was 18 minutes, 20 minutes up your sleeve, go in and watch it, because it's really, really good. Yeah. Any other questions for Mercedes? No, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of activity briefings. We'll break now for a cup of tea, and we're back at 3:15 for resuming audit and risk public excluded session. Thank you.